What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. Another Survivor recap coming at you. Survivor episode 8, coming off that double elimination last week where we saw Tim and Soda going home. We head back to the tribe after the elimination, and Ben's upset because of Tim going home as one of his first and real friends in the game. Hugh says again, how Tim was just voted out because he was part of the 6 but was playing his own game too. Venus comes in, firing right away, saying Tevin lied to her the whole day, basically, and, claiming the vote for herself, even though we do know, obviously, we see a perspective that the players don't see, and, Tevin was in on getting Soda out all day, but, Venus doesn't know that in this time, so, she comes in saying, they were going at each other. And really behind the scenes, Tevin's kind of laughing because he knows that he was, one of the main ones that was involved in this. He says he wrote her name down because he didn't know about idols, and what he also did want to say, which I think I said in the recap last week too, that he wanted to be able to say to Soda, like, hey, I never wrote your name down, kind of planning ahead for, possible jury management for Tevin there. Liz says she's been saying Soda the whole time, and Tevin and Venus are really taking the credit for it. So, she wants to just stop sitting back and kind of, take credit for her game, that, get credit for she was the one who originally brought up getting Soda out for a long time. Whenever she had the chance, that's what she wanted to do. We have Q coming up with a new fashion design for the show. Sign me up for the Q skirt. Charlie says he's trying to stay on Q's good side because he's not only driving votes, but he's making alliances for the end, multiple alliances for the end. For Q, obviously, he has his original 3 in Tiff and Kenzie from the original tribe, and then he also has the final 6, and then he also, or the 6 from the Journey alliance right there. And so, he's really got his hands in a couple different situations, the +1 alliance, and he has alliances within the alliance as well. So he's really setting himself up for a good end to the game, if he can make it there. They talked at Sunrise where Charlie says all major combos for him have pretty much happened, and they talked about him joining the +1 alliance and that final 6 alliance that they have. Maria likes the 6, but Charlie sees it as possibly being stuck with people he can't beat in the end. Q wants to play hide and seek, so it's like, oh, okay, this is just a fun way to pass the time. It's something I want to do, explore the island. You can maybe even sneak in a little idol hunting, while you're, hiding and seeking per se. Charlie is the one that goes searching, but Q wants to see who can hide in plain sight, and he's using this as like a tactical type move, and this seems right up Q's alley. Hunter, we thought it was a spy nest from the commercial, but now we know that Hunter was hiding in the tree above the shelter there back at camp. Venus dissecting people's strategy too, so that was interesting. She was taking that approach as well. Ben was hiding in plain sight. He was kind of laying just kind of in the little tall grass there areas, and he had something over him. He's hiding there, and Q says, big mistake. He's got to go. He was able to hide in plain sight. And then he also says Hunter's got to go because anyone who's willing to climb up a tree and risk everything just for a hide and seek game is too risky to be in the game for me. Venus and Tevin talked to try to clear the air about tribal council last night. But, really, especially as someone who's a Venus fan, as someone who picked her to win this game at the beginning of the game, I hate how much they're playing into the Tevin kind of messing with Venus, that she made the move to get Soda. Like, obviously, like, we know this goes on, like, all the time. Like, maybe people think they make a bigger move than they do, but really maybe other people were on the move later, and people kind of save it and just reveal it at Final Tribal. But, they're really in the editing, really leaning into, messing with that right now. But we see Liz is still annoyed and says, Tevin's got to go. Basically, she believes it's her move. So we have 3 people saying that it's their move. We have Venus saying it was her move to get out Soda, Tevin saying it was his move to get out Soda, and Liz saying it was her original idea move to get out Soda. Okay, Tiffany wants to keep Venus around because doesn't think that anyone really sees her as a threat, and in her words, she said no one really likes working with her. And we're past the point in the game where you can just take the obvious names out. Hugh then turns around and says Tiff is trying to keep goats around and take goats to the end, but he said that's not how I want to play. That's not how I want to play this game. That's kind of the old way to play. That's not how I want to play. And then Q also says how Tiff brought up Maria, who's in the 6, who's in the +1 alliance with her and Q. So that was a red flag for Q and something to turn his attention to possibly getting Tiff out if she's not going to be loyal to the alliances that they were in together. So he talks to Maria about that and try to come up with a plan. And Q does open up to Maria that Tiff has an idol. Now, before the immunity challenge, the votes seem to be pointing towards Tiff, so we'll see what happens after this immunity challenge. Q said he's a mob boss. We'll see how that goes over. I've only ever seen, maybe one or two. Obviously Boston Rob's Redemption Island season he won, and then, I guess you could maybe say Kim Spradlin, the way she, ran that One World season shortly thereafter. Really the only mob bosses type I could say that really got away with it and won. So we'll see how that goes for Q going forward. The immunity challenge, it's the classic pole challenge. Got to hang on to the pole as long as you can. But there's a twist option to get Rice that'll last you the remainder of the game. I think it was like 9 days left in the game. They need 4 people to sit out for Rice. No one wants to sit out. And the thing that always gets me too, and I know I only say this because I know Jeff has said this in interviews before, it's that some people jump into and don't think it's a negotiation. Jeff always says, it's your guys' game. But obviously, yes, you're setting the rules for the challenge, but he's always willing to negotiate. He might say no. Yes, 4 is already obviously a super, generous number of trying to get that many people to sit out. As he said, that's not even half. But you could have, negotiate a little more. I don't know what you're going to negotiate, whatever, maybe give up part of the fishing gear, a part of a tarp here, I don't know, give up something if you want that. I feel like there was a way that you could possibly get down to 3. He even optioned and said, okay, what if we get 2 people to give up their votes tonight? No one was going for it. No one wants to sit out. Q steps up, and so does Liz. Charlie says he's willing to step up if anyone's willing to do kind of like a 2-for-1 deal, but no one does it. Jeff kind of just puts a timer on it, 10 seconds, and starts counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7. Starts counting down. No one steps up. I liked it more when he had the rice hanging there, and he said, all right, well, y'all need to make a decision, and just stabbed the bag of rice with a knife. I thought that was a little more funny and a little more memeable. Jeff also says how this was the first time in the new era that no deal was made in this, exchange, right, people sitting out for rice. First time in the new era that it hasn't been done, and that just, as they kind of talked about in the episode, just kind of talks about where this game is right now and how no one feels safe right now. So the immunity challenge happens. Hunter wins. Charlie and Venus hung up there and hung in there a long time, though, just going back and forth, and they were hanging in there for quite a while. Q is a little bit salty, you can tell, at the challenge because a handful of people fell within a minute or two. So it's like, man, we could have had the rice. But we get back to camping. Q is still mad because he's like, do people really think that they had a chance with Hunter, a guy who chose to stay in a tree for the length of a hide and seek just for fun, just the day prior? And did anyone really think they had a chance against him? And I thought they did. I was pulling for Venus. It looked like Venus was pretty locked in there. I thought Charlie, obviously both of them hung in a while. So it's like, okay, a few of them had a fighting shot there, but I agree, some of the survivors that stayed in there, it was like, do we really think we're winning this, or should we get food for the remaining 9 days? But then, again, on the flip side, if you're playing the game, I don't know if I could sit out either. Obviously, the fear of you don't want to get voted out or anything. But also, too, I'm on Survivor. I want to do these challenges. I said that while we were sitting there watching the episode. I'm like, I want to build this in backyard and do this at home. Whatever. That's just, something that you dream about, to get out there and run these challenges. But obviously, you don't have food. You need food. So it's like, do you take one for the team and do it? It's a tough decision. But, Q's still mad about that. Back at camp, the plan's still Tiff. For all intensive purposes, the plan is still Tiff right after the immunity challenge. Liz wants to take a shot at Tevin, though. So this kind of starts the wheels turning of everything else. Ben is in on this plan to get Tevin out. He tells Kenzie and brings in Tiff as well, and Tiff is on board. So starting to gain numbers here to take a shot at Tevin, possibly. Tiff talks to Q and tells him, because as she said, they've, openly shared information and have been in this alliance throughout the whole game. And she tells Q that Liz told her about this plan to get out Tevin. So now Q's like, everyone's changing the plan last minute. You know, he was the one really that wanted to take the shot at Tiff at the beginning of the episode. Q tells Hunter the plan's not a go, and, you know, everything, like, it's not going to happen. You know, we need to kind of just cover our own butts. Like, there's not enough votes to flip it to get Tiff out here. You know, we can't expose ourselves going forward. And then Hunter's like, what do you mean? Like, that just seems so off the wall. Why is this happening? You know, and kind of just spirals a little bit. Then Hunter starts scrambling, grabs the +1 group, the 6, minus Tevin, obviously, and he's trying to talk to them and trying to get everyone back to the original plan that they had of going after Tiff, because she did mention Maria's name before, so that's the main reason why they're trying to go after her. And obviously the exchange earlier in the episode that Q talked about, that he wanted to take that shot at her. Venus goes over and breaks up the group talk there, and Hunter says, can we just vote her out? And Marie tells Charlie about Tiff's idol as well, and Charlie says this is the worst excuse basically of an alliance in this game, and that him and Maria again are basically deciding who's going home. They've really, like, throughout this game, especially obviously these last couple episodes since the merge, but for a while now, they've Charlie and Maria, they've been kind of that, you know, linchpin of who's going home, and, you know, really the big decision makers. Obviously, we've seen the purple 3 of Q, Tiff, and Kenzie making a lot of decisions as well, but really for a long period of time too, Charlie and Maria have been in there and a big part of making these decisions in the game about who's going home. Then we get to Tribal Council, and just everything just hits the fan. Q comes out and says, I'm going home tonight. I'm asking them to vote for me. Like, what? Just so confused. Like, just so out of left field, as they're kind of saying, like, we're just all confused because he never talked about or hinted out about this at camp or anything like that. So it's like, where is this coming from? He's saying that this is because of a last-minute mix-up that he feels responsible for, and he wants to take account of it, and he wants everyone to just go back to playing. So, you know, you're inferring that this is when he told Hunter about the plan to, you know, that the plan had shifted to Tevin, and that, you know, he feels like he might have messed the game up a little bit there. Tevin says, I'm not going to coddle someone who wants to go. And it's like, he's not wrong. Then we get a live tribal. First time of the season, I believe, we've had a live tribal. Q tells Tiff and Kenzie they wouldn't have had enough votes for Tevin, that Tiff would have went home. Charlie tells Tiff that Q told them that she has the idol. She turns and tells Kenzie, and Kenzie turns around and says, ooh, spicy. And it's like, what is happening right now? And someone says, I think it's Tevin, says, like, do we just do Venus? So it's like, are they switching it to Venus? No one knows what's going on. I think someone already clipped it, put it on Twitter. It's a picture of the Tribal Council, and it just has the closed captioning at the bottom, like, I don't even know what's happening right now. And that's basically how that whole mess happened. And, you know, going up to the voting booth, everyone kind of seemed like kind of dumbfounded about, like, what just happened. And it's like, why did that happen? Like, why did that need to happen at all? And why did it happen? And, you know, I got thinking about it, like, shortly afterwards. I'm like, I thought about it a little bit during too, but I'm like, did Q just do this just to kind of, like, ruffle the feathers and, you know, get it like this to make it seem like it was kind of a, obviously turned into a live tribal, and, you know, make it seem like kind of a rushed, you know, decision. Whoever went out, he could explain down the line, you know, in terms of if he has a jury vote, like, or needs a jury vote or not. He's like, well, this didn't happen, you know, it was a live tribal, you know, things were getting thrown back and forth, like, whatever, even though he's the one that caused that. Like, I don't know, I'm like, a lot of stuff Q does, I think there's a method to his madness, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get the next episode that, you know, he kind of did that on purpose. He never really wanted to go home and wasn't really asking to go home, that he just kind of used that as a tactic. But I could be wrong. But we get the votes. Venus gets 2 votes from Hunter and Tevin gets the rest of the votes. Tevin goes home. But wow, what a tribal. The last couple tribals are just keep getting more and more, obviously, as we're heading to, you know, we're into the second half of the season now. Only a handful of weeks left. And, next week it looks like everyone's turning on each other. Specifically the three in terms of Q, Tiff, and Kenzie. Obviously, because now Tiff found out that Q is telling people that she has an idol. So now that's out there. So now it kind of seems like we kind of saw, maybe the end of last week and this week, maybe the three isn't as tight anymore. Maybe they still had plans of working together, down the line once it gets to, 6 or 5. 7, 6, or 5, in that range. But, maybe they were like, hey, let's not make it too obvious right now so people want to split us up. Maybe that's the reason we haven't seen a lot of them. But, with, in Kenzie's words, little spicy information going around there with Q telling people that Tiff has the idol, and, Q actually trying to target Tiff in this episode. I'm curious if that gets out next week as well. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But hey, we're coming down the home stretch here. Only, I think, about 4-ish episodes left. This was episode 8. There's usually like 12, 13 or so. So yeah, about 4 or 5 episodes left. Coming down the home stretch, and super excited. Stock check, really quick. I'm going to try to remember to do this at the end of every recap. Right now, I think my stock check, my 2 players that I see at the top right now, Charlie and Kenzie. Those are the 2 that I have right now that I'm circling that I think one of them can win. I'm leaning more Kenzie right now. I could see Charlie, game being a little bit, I feel like he's going to make a couple moves here down the stretch. I could possibly see him going, at the 5 or, right before the fire making, or even going out in the fire making challenge. Just missing out on that final 3. But there's a lot of great players left in the game so far. But right now I kind of got Kenzie and Charlie right there at 1 and 2 in terms of stock for winning this game. But anyway, looking forward to next week. Looking forward to the remainder of this season. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.